Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Exorcist, Season 1, Episode 10. It is the season finale. It's called Chapter 10, Three Rooms. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, obviously, we left off the last episode with Tomas just entering the house and being fully aware that Regan is full on possessed. Meanwhile, Marcus has been taken by Simon and his cronies elsewhere. Which, we'll start there. Bennett's alive.
Yeah.
He's not dead. That cheered me up. I was worried they were going to kill him during this episode as a thing in front of Marcus to try and break him.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but so I'm deeply happy that did not come to pass.
yeah, because now we've got more badasses again.
Yeah, now we have two of them. I really want Marcus and Bennett now just to almost like I want like Exorcist Supernatural, where it's the two of them on the road dealing with
Yes,
rogue demons and rogue
I
whatever
want
else.
that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Highlights of those scenes though for me were probably Marcus like goading on the demons. It's almost like he can outwit them at their own game
Yeah,
and get under their skin, which I thought was good fun. Obviously, Maria finally got possessed at the end. She took the demon that Simon intended for one of them, but that was kind of. It's kind of funny how in this last couple of episodes, Marcus didn't even know about Regan. Like he was so busy
yeah, it was
concerned
just
with
doing everything else.
Pope assassinations. Yeah, he was he was busy. He had enough on his plate. He didn't have to
Mm.
deal with it. But it did lead to him with that very brutal throat slashing of Father Simon to save the Pope.
It was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Again, it was one of those things where him and Bennett just feel like badasses now. In fact,
I love that you just have the Pope's face there as well, going, "What's going on?"
yeah, he's like clueless. He doesn't know what's going on. But no, speaking of badassery, when they first break out and Marcus gets his hand free and he kicks one of them, he's like Bennett, and Bennett grabs one of them with his legs and then snaps his neck with his
Yeah,
legs.
yeah,
He's like a goddamn. He's like Rambo.
yeah. I love that Marcus is just like, Bennett, come on, pull your weight, and Bennett's like, "Oh, fine, I'll
He's
get
like,
involved."
I've lost so much blood. I've been bleeding here for the last 3 hours. But okay, fine. I'll snap his neck.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Obviously, the main bulk of the episode, though, not that that was the last we've seen of Marcus, because we had evil, subconscious Marcus inside Tomas's head. Tomas quickly gets his ass whooped by Regan, or Pazuzu, however you want to phrase it.
Either
And
or.
he's put into this dreamlike trance where basically Pazuzu's set his own conscience against him,
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
kind of an attempt to make him kill himself.
Yeah, he's trying to make him weak and it just kind of makes Tomas realise his own strength. And yeah, he's had his weaknesses, but he sort of finally realises what they were, rather than. It's almost like all season it's been these very obvious things. Oh, you're being weak because you're having feelings for a woman. You're being weak because you're not sure of yourself. But it's been kind of not as obvious as that. It's more about him just being unsure of himself and what he actually believes.
Yeah,
And,
it plays quite well as because, like I say, it kind of just confronts all these things, and he has to overcome them all at once.
I think that's what this finale's done quite well actually, both from him and Marcus. Is Marcus actually saying what he fights for? It's not for the church, it's for him. It's for what he's seen when he first did the first ever possession that he took care of. He believed he'd seen God, and Tomas realizing all of his faults. It really did a good job of everything these characters have been going through over this entire season, bringing it all to a head. And Tomas especially has that really sort of that great moment when the music's building up and he's realizing who he really is, and he's saying what his weaknesses are but what his strengths are, and he's going to be an exorcist. And then there's that moment where he rises up behind Regan,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, and then pulls out the cross.
and pulls out the cross and then yells, "The power of Christ compels you," which is the line that, well, behind your mother sucks cocks in hell, the line that everyone remembers from The Exorcist is "The power of Christ compels you." So again, it's just this big culmination moment of everything coming together, and I think Reagan's reaction to him as well is actually really good, because it's instead of going for the obvious, "Oh, I'm shocked, it didn't work, you're back," it's more of an annoyance at this point. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Well, Jesus Christ, they wouldn't say that, but
It's like, yeah, it's like, oh my god, really?
yeah,
It is just, it's like a petty annoyance.
yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, there was a lot of good, disturbing tension in this episode as she has the family sitting around and threatening to rip off limbs and making one hit the other with a hammer, and
Oh, that was uncomfortable.
yeah, that whole thing was very uncomfortable. And all of it at this point, of course, is she realizes, or Pazuzu realizes, that there's still some of Regan inside, and he's trying to get her to give up the last little shred of like space in her brain, as it were.
Yeah, she's got that one little room.
Yeah, the one little room, which was, I think, very intentionally the room for the movie.
Yeah.
And nah, and she was even wearing a similar sort of, obviously bigger because she's an adult, but similar sort of nightgown.
Yeah.
That she wore in the movie as well. No, I thought this was a very effective episode. I think the direction as well, which has been pretty good throughout the season. I felt like there was a lot of other, just simpler little touches because it was jumping in between like the real world and like this subconscious like non-reality. There was a lot of little smart little cuts that were happening between
Yeah,
them.
like it could have been easy to them to cut to the subconscious stuff, and you have to question if it is that or if it's a real world cut. But it was always very clear exactly what was what.
It was very clear, but I think it also did a really good job of like building the, like I say, like Tomas's whole thing, like building to that culmination. Everything up until that point where it was like he sees his grandmother looking kind of gross, and he turns around, and the way it cuts around him, and it goes back to like evil Marcus,
Yeah.
being the voice of his subconscious, and just the way it all sort of like was clicking together felt a lot more intricate than normal. Like I feel like TV editing and TV direction, because they have to shoot in such a sort of tight schedule, they have to keep it fairly simple. Whereas this felt a little bit more thought out and
Yeah, they'd like had a bit of fun with it and
Yeah.
kind of shown that they have some talent rather than just stock direction.
And even with the Pope's arrival when he's coming down the street, and we have all the slow motion of like him and his bodyguards like coming down the street just over the sort of horizon line of the road, and just it's cutting to the crowd and all that. It was playing with the big moments a lot more in this episode, which is good because it's a finale and it should feel like
Yeah.
is the wrap up to this fairly big season long story. But that said, it didn't wrap up everything neatly. I mean, it felt pretty neat. Like if it never comes back, it'll feel fairly.
It'll be satisfying, yeah, because most things got a solid conclusion.
Yeah, like Marcus and Tomas both got like a solid arc, which they completed in self-realization. The main possession story with Regan and her family seems to be done. Although I feel like if there is a season 2, they will still pop up somehow. Even though they've left, I feel like they'll be drawn back in.
That's the thing. It's like do they decide to shift it entirely to the priests? And I mean, the title is The Exorcist. It's not anything to do with the family. You could follow them now on their adventures and him training to be an exorcist.
Well, that's kind of what it sets up at the end, is their conversation where Marcus is going to leave, and Tomas is like, no, stay and train me. I want to do this, because when he describes what he saw when he performed the exorcism on Regan, it's very similar to what he described for his first exorcism. So there's almost like a bond there, and they have a friendship that's brewing. In fact, I kind of love the scene with the two of them and Bennett. And Bennett's like, yeah, don't get yourselves out of trouble. And they're joking about him defacing the Bible, and he's like, no, I'm just what's the word to use?
I can't remember the exact line.
Redacting. He's redacting the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really funny. But he's like, what about all the drawings of birds? Oh no, that's defacing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really weird banter that you don't expect between priests. Well, I mean, you don't expect them to be snapping necks with their legs either, admittedly. But
look, clearly, what I have taken away from this show is that more priests are badass than we realise. Because 2 out of the 3 main ones are proper badasses.
And it feels like Tomas wants to be a badass, and he's like, please train me in your ways of badassery, Marcus,
Yeah,
please.
it's like, come season 3, he'll be up there with the best of the badasses.
Come season 3, the 3 of them will be going into like small towns full of demons and like whipping out
Just
crosses.
going against an army of demons.
Yeah. They'll be whipping out
man.
their crosses like they're gunslingers,
That'd be so good.
Yeah, because Marcus has even got his cross on his at the end of his beads.
No, do you know what they do? They all pull out water guns and it just shoots holy water at them.
I feel like it might not be as easy to take the show seriously at that point if they start whipping out water guns.
Probably not, but they should do it anyway.
Yeah.
Just to keep them all at bay.
But the funny thing is it actually makes some sense to throw some holy water in a water gun.
It does.
It's as good a dispersal system as any, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's portable, and it's got some sort of aim. It's more efficient than say a hose. You can carry it on the go. What are you gonna do with it?
That said, if you've got an entire swarm of possessed people,
Well, yeah,
a
you want
fire
one of
hose, yeah,
those big meaty things with the big tanks. Clearly,
aye.
you don't want one of these tiny little piddly shooters. So what are they gonna do?
Oh dear, yeah. So, nah, but there was a lot of nice touches in the whole exorcism. I liked that it didn't need to focus on the exorcism per se. It was cutting between a lot of things, and it was the family coming back and like helping with it. To like help Tomas out and give him like the extra strength that he maybe needed to succeed.
Yeah,
And just simple little things like cutting back into the inside the head sort of world with Regan and seeing that Pazuzu was getting weakened and that he was struggling to get there, and that Regan
yeah, and
even
obviously her fighting back as
yeah
well.
opening the door and actually fighting back. I almost wish there was a little bit more of that to actually see her fighting like proper
Yeah,
clawing into him, like just how visceral that could have been. But it's hard to complain much because I think it felt like an exorcism, but they didn't need to focus on it just in the pure. Because it could have very easily just been like the movie where they're standing around her and
well, the thing is, we've already had that. We had that a few
yeah,
episodes ago, so it would have just felt a bit hollow if they just retreaded that for the final.
yeah, yeah.
So
So it's intercutting with all that stuff, but it's also intercutting with the Pope assassination attempt.
yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which was all going on at the same time. But it did leave us with things for next. Obviously, Tomas wanting to be trained is a big thread that should be a big thing in season 2. Should we get it? Also, Maria is now possessed, and the police commissioner is still around, and they clearly Simon was too hot-headed and greedy. We need to play this a longer, smarter game,
Yeah,
and that would presumably be the villainous plot for next season.
you'd assume so.
Also, one of my big laughs of the episode is when we first see Bennett and Marcus sees him, and Bennett's like, "Yeah, I think I've got a lead on that whole someone inside the church." He's like, "Well, we can all just go home then, can't we?"
Yeah, like I said, they have really good banter.
They do. They do have really good banter. So, no, that was a solid finale. I really have little to complain about it. I thought it was creepy. But I think the biggest thing from it though was that almost all of the characters had great conclusions to their arcs over the season.
That's the thing. As much as it did set up stuff for season 2, it was very satisfying this season in its own right. So that if there is no more, we got a complete story for pretty much everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we say, there was good, tense, scary stuff with the family sitting there and being under control. If I have any complaints, I do think the whole ritual where they have the ashes of all the organs that they got from earlier in the season, and he blows them out and says these little things so that there's a demon there to possess someone.
Yeah.
I just almost think it's maybe just a little bit on the silly side that this floating spectre is just kind of hanging around for probably a good half an hour in their time, lingering.
Yeah, deciding.
Yeah, and
See, you said it, but it's a big decision. Which body are you going to get stuck with?
Oh no, it is. It's just the image of it and seeing it floating around and them all being able to look up and actually see it. It's a physical thing that's there. Just feels a little bit on the silly side.
Yeah, I get that. It's a little bit out there compared to everything else, which feels, even if it is demonic, it feels very grounded and visceral. Whereas that does just feel like a floating thing.
It's grounded and visceral and it's stuff that you don't typically see. That's why when the bodies start floating, it's like, oh crap, something really big's going on there. Because as much as we're seeing all this stuff in their heads, it is all in their heads. It's a visual representation for something that has no visuals in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas this is not. There's a floating spectre in the room, just. Which was fine when they did it the first time because it was just a couple of seconds and it went into someone. Whereas this was hanging around and you could see it and.
I wonder if it was just some weird editing that made it seem longer than it actually was.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's because it cut away from the scene, it came back and it was still there.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Maybe that actually was just straight after, and there wasn't that much time between.
Maybe.
It just seems like it is because of the way it's edited.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So we see the family have moved to I think Florida was where they said, or was it California? I can't remember. They mentioned a few episodes ago where they were going to move to. We see them in this more rural area and in a sort of farmhouse style place at a grove, and we see that they're okay. But I did think it was interesting that the final shot, Henry asks Angela, how you feeling? She says she feels safe. And we end in a close up of her, and I almost seen a little bit of doubt in her face, which is why I think that maybe they will be pulled back into it in season 2 in some way. Not so much that I think she will be possessed again, but just that, I don't know, maybe they'll feel like they need to be involved in stopping whatever this is now, or maybe,
Like, even if it's just like spreading the word sort of thing.
Or even if, like, Casey, like, because obviously one of the scenes we got then was her talking to Marcus about getting over this, and, like, can she be okay? Like, have others been okay? And some dead somewhere, and, and it was a really good scene, it felt quite heartwarming, and, don't let them win. Like, if you break down, they've won, basically. And I almost wonder if, like, that's leading to her feeling like she needs to be more involved. Like, does she help with possessions and exorcisms? Does she try to help people fight? Because I almost get the reason why she was the first one to go back and help is because she went through it and she felt it and she recognised it and she knew what it was about and all that. Well, no, there's speculation.
No, it makes sense.
But no, that's season 1 of The Exorcist, which was much better than we thought it was going to be before it started. So,
man, we were literally expecting to write this off like 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
We'd written it off based on the trailer, honestly.
And then it was good, so, happy to be proven wrong in this case. Almost a little surprised there was no tubular bells in this final episode.
Yeah, I was expecting it in one of the big moments at the end, and then it just never came.
I was expecting it maybe when it was like Marcus and Tomas walking off. I was almost expecting it to hit, like maybe because I think it was just after that it cut to Maria and that. Like at the end of their scene when they say, "Oh, we're going to do worse than Simon did" or whatever, I was expecting it to hit in, and then it would intercut between like them walking away and then maybe the family elsewhere, just as a sort of wrap up montage. But the one thing is though, by not doing it, it does mean that whenever they do bring it in again, if it's season 2,
it'll feel so earned.
Yeah, because they've waited so long, and it's not the obvious place. Because it could be. It doesn't have to be a finale, it could be episode 7, because something big might happen in episode 7 and it feels like it fits there, and it's like, oh, that feels a bit more earned, because you're not
they're not just throwing it in every finale just because they can. Yeah.
So, so I respect the restraint. I'm surprised, but I respect the restraint.
Yeah, and there was never a problem with the music, it always worked for the scene, so it's not like you were feeling like it was missing.
Yeah. Even the music probably got the most hopeful here as well, as I mentioned in the whole scene where Tomas was confessing his own sins to himself and like realizing who he was. So
yeah,
solid finale, solid first season. Hope there's another one, and maybe they will. I mean, Stream Queen's got a season 2 after not having a longer season. So maybe they see the benefit of just having it at the fall season for going through Halloween, that time of year. That's when they can market it. So with a bit of luck, we'll have season 2 next year. But that's The Exorcist finale. Let us know what you thought of the finale and the season as a whole in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot if you do. Thank you very much for watching. Keep an eye out for all of our best of the year videos that are going up over the last week or so. And we'll see you next time, guys.